All right, hi everyone. We are here because unfortunately we heard some very upsetting news for our community last night. Miri, I'm going to try and find out where Jody and Susie are. Do you want to just give a little bit of an update of why we decided to do the live while I look for everybody?
Yes, no problem. This is a difficult time for the Jewish community right now, and I would make the case this is a difficult time for everybody, not only for the Jewish community. The murder that happened yesterday in DC, where two Jewish young people were shot just because they're Jewish, um, in front of the Jewish Museum. Well, the person who shot them yelled, "Globalize the Intifada." And I think that's part of the problem, is that what we're seeing right now is really not just free speech anymore.
We're here to come together as a community to process the ongoing loss and grief we experience, not only individually, but with our friends and family, and the grief that we experience as we share our peoplehood in the deaths of Sarah Milgram and Yaron Lisachinsky, if I'm saying it appropriately, who were fatally murdered yesterday at the Capitol building. And the reason that we're meeting today is because it's so important that we all feel this pain, and that we have some coping strategies and some thoughts around how to deal with this moment, because it's painful, not only for many of the people who may have known some of the individuals there, but for all of us, because of the ongoing grief that we feel for each of the different anti-Semitic incidents that occur, but also for the grief that we feel for the loss of our safety in this world, and the loss of a safety that we feel not only in the diaspora, but in Israel.
Okay, thank you. That was beautiful. Okay, so Miri, do you want to take it from there and talk a little bit about things people might be experiencing?
I think that the collective grief is really essential to recognize here, because sometimes people feel like they don't have permission to grieve for someone they don't know. But I think, as we all experienced after October 7th, we are all connected. There is this song in Hebrew, it's called Rikma Enoshit. We're all one living organ together, so we're all feeling this grief, and I think just acknowledging that is really important. People might experience hypervigilant. I had a lot of clients calling me today, Jewish clients, that are just really afraid about their safety, afraid of leaving the house, afraid of going to temple, trying to stay connected, try to validate those emotions and those feelings. I think what's happening is that for a lot of us, it's triggering our intergenerational trauma, our fight or flight freeze response. This is completely normal that our brain will react in this way. Our amygdala is overactivated right now. We're really feeling all the feelings with the loss. So we have the loss, we have the grief, and we have the fear, because our community has been afraid for a really, really long time now. And I think the other layer of that is that while we feel the fear, other people are not validating our fear and our pain, unfortunately. And one of the things that I really want to highlight is that we do have people, we do have allies, and we do have people that not only stand with us or standing for us. You can see a lot of them around. You just need to look for them, which is a skill. Be around people that you feel can give you that sense of belonging and give you that sense of hope as well. The other thing I would mention, because there is so much traumatic invalidation from everybody around us, when people are minimizing our pain and grief, try to self-validate as well. It's not easy, but acknowledge those emotions. If you feel sad, sadness is telling us something. Sadness is telling us that there is loss. It's a signal. If you feel angry, feel the anger. It's also okay to be angry. If you feel fear, ask yourself, am I safe right now? And if you're not safe, which unfortunately some of us are not safe right now, ask yourself, what can I do to feel safe? We all know that connecting to the community is really important for the sense of belonging, especially when we all feel isolated. So find your people, whoever they are, find your people. And then do some self-care as well. I know it's really hard, and especially now that we're pulled to so many directions, and getting those news on top of that is just impossible. I know for myself today, I was trying to focus at work and seeing patient and going from one meeting to another, but my mind was not there. Practice skills like mindfulness, bring your attention back to your breathing, take a hot bath, go for a walk, practice gratitude. Look around you. What is a few things that you can be grateful for? And it can be something small like playing with your kids, or your favorite song on the radio, or just go for hug someone that you like. look at a picture of someone that reminds you of better times and hope, and don't lose hope. We have to stick together. I always say, just like Hatikva, like the song, there is the constant piece of we will prevail, and there is hope. So lean into that.
Miri, those were really beautiful words. Thank you so much for sharing. Um, I just wanted to say that I know that we're all here because we are therapists and we are trained and educated in mental health. But right now, the four of us are standing here with you as Jewish people, Jewish women, Jewish people who are suffering along with you. And as much as we are here, we have our professional expertise, we're also feeling it. But we're here to show up in the wake of this horrific anti Semitic attack in DC. And it is really hard to find the words, but I cannot be silent. We will not be silent. Kesher Shalom, Trauma Informed LA, will not be silent. We deserve to be seen and we deserve to be safe.
That's
In
right.
Judaism, grief is not something to hide. We sit Shiva, we light candles, we say, may in their memory be a blessing. And really that is what it is we cannot forget those that we've lost, and their memory has to be a blessing. In therapy, we talk about holding the container, creating space for pain without rushing through it. And that's what we're really here for. We're just creating a space for us to have that grief without rushing through it and refusing to let it just disappear into the news cycle. Us Jews, this is not new news, right? This is what Miri said. This is generational. We've had generational trauma and we've had recent trauma. We have that what's going on in Israel and the hostages. We've had so many different incidences. We think about Pittsburgh. We think about what happened in Charlottesville. We know that this is not new, and therapy calls it interracial drama. In trauma, in Jewish tradition, we call it zachor. Zachor means to remember, not just what happened, but what it means and what it does and how has it changed us. We not only remember how we survived, but we have to remember how we thrive. And we thrive with ritual, with support, with community, with story, with song, with prayer, with dance, with art, with all these different parts of us. We don't just carry trauma, we carry the tools for resilience. In Devarim, in our book of Deuteronomy, we are commanded justice, justice, you shall pursue. So it doesn't say just hope for justice, it says to pursue justice. And what that means is we're not going to look away. We're not going to shy away from anti Semitism. We're going to call it out, any injustice of any kind. Because when we can act out, we have a place to put our power and our grief, it makes us stronger. And we can take that trauma. Many of you have heard me talk about transforming trauma before. Let's talk a little bit about how many of us, including myself, are feeling. I know that we're feeling a little bit on edge. It's not our weakness, it's our hypervigilance, and it's a trauma response, and it's also normal. It's rooted in our body, it's rooted in history, and for many of us Jews, it's about staying alive. So we have to remember what we're experiencing in our body is what is for us to notice and honor it. Don't feel ashamed, don't feel embarrassed. This is a really important thing that it's just there to protect us. And again, we have a Jewish concept called Perkuas Nefesh, to protect a life. It's almost the most important thing. So protecting a life is not just physical, it's emotional. It's mind, body, and soul. And all three of these things, it is our job to protect that for ourselves, for our community. We talk about in trauma post-traumatic growth, the idea that healing is possible and that making meaning can emerge from pain. And in Judaism, we have a way forward, and it's called Tikkun Olam, and we can repair the world. So that just means one step. Reach out to somebody, talk to somebody, send somebody a text. Make sure, especially if you know somebody lives alone, that they're not feeling isolated right now, that they're okay. We need to use this as our field for justice. So if you're scared, if you're feeling numb, if you're feeling burnt out, you are not alone. You don't have to be resilient in a perfect way. Resilience doesn't mean I'm strong. Resilience means that we're going through it even when it's difficult. You just have to be real with your feelings, and you want to show up outside of the Jewish community. I'm sorry, those of you that are showing up outside of the Jewish community, I really want to thank you for being an ally and being a supporter and listening. Say something, show up. And then to that end, I want to end with the words of Elie Wiesel. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. And I think that that is part of the pain that we've been all feeling is where is the support? Even today, as I posted it, I only got out of my 3,000 Facebook contacts, only 10 non-Jews of Jewish friends actually reached out and said, "Oh my goodness, we need that support, and we need to hold on with our memory, with courage, and with love." Um, Susie, do you want to say anything about practical advice that for people can have to hold on to at this time?
Yeah, a couple things. One, I was thinking I received one message of all the people that I know, whether it's on social media, one person, one. And yeah, there's a lot of things. I was thinking also about what you were saying with resilience. And resilience is not that we can, just get back up. Obviously, there's Jewish resilience, and we know that we have that in our DNA. It's also about having safe relationships and access to resources. So that is a huge reason that one, I have connected, with all three of you. And I, just to be honest with everyone, I am an October 8th Jew where I was in a whole different world. And so a big part is community. And I think self-care is important for sure, regulating your nervous system and taking the breaths, all those pieces. And what you were saying, Malka, is community, because we heal in community. We don't heal in isolation. And there's been so much grief and so much, as you were saying, Mary, traumatic invalidation. And then it's easy to go into isolation because it is gaslighting. And it's really hard to grieve when people are questioning even the reality of what we're experiencing. So my practical thoughts are ensure that you have a community that you feel safe with. And it's almost like taking vitamin D, even if you don't feel like you need it, that it's important to reach out because we all know this has been happening for a long time. It's just now we're seeing it more and more and more. I work on campuses, so that's why I became an October 8th Jew, to be honest, is that the people I was standing up with weren't standing with me. And so I have now created a new community, and that's been the most healing part of all the darkness is the lightness of relationships.
I love that.
I think
I love that, Susie. If I could jump in for a second and kind of bring this together, I call it community care. And it is so important. We know this. We know this from living through the pandemic, that community care is like when we're in the deepest moments of our sorrow. That's what sitting Shiva is about, that we bring people together. And there's little bits and pieces, like you said, Susie, of being an October 8th Jew, meaning maybe you weren't as involved. We all can bring bits and pieces of Judaism into our lives in a way that feels comforting. It can help, also bridge gaps with our allies too. So for example, I make sure that, I light the candles on Friday night, and I will, if I have somebody over, I had a recent friend of mine said, "Hey, I would really like to start doing that with you." Or explaining why we're bringing in some of these rituals that just remind us of who we are, but of what we share with everyone else. And that's where our resilience comes in. That's why we are Jews. That's our biggest gift to the world, has been that we've learned to prevail and to become resilient in the face of trauma through our greater community. And I couldn't be more proud to be a part of our peoplehood.
I can add to that. I think there's also the do and don'ts, right? So even yesterday, I already saw some news about that to me were very, very invalidating, where there was like one short paragraph about the victims, not even mentioning them by name, and then two paragraph, not justifying it, but definitely connecting it to humanitarian crisis in Gaza. And I think that's where we're getting into a competition of pain and suffering and humanization of the people. There is something to say about also not looking into some social media, some news, and figuring out what are your own boundaries and where to lean into. I saw that message, that news, and I'm like, I can't deal with it right now. Like, this is so painful. And then I lean into my friends at Parents for Peace. And so like Arno's went live and Mubin posted on Instagram and Miriam, and my heart was full again because I think it's important to reassure in a way that feels comfortable for you, leaning to the people that you trust that will give you that support. Stay away from situation where you might get invalidated again, because now we're dealing with compound trauma, one on top of another, and that's going to be harder to bounce back from.
And I think that was beautiful. I want to say that it's more than vicarious trauma because we know that the only reason that this happened is because they were Jewish.
Oh,
And I
100%.
feel like this is deeper than vicarious trauma. Vicarious trauma is when you see it on television, or you maybe for like people, us in the helping profession, we feel our clients' trauma. But what I really wanted to say is it's really an existential trauma because if it happened to them, it could happen to any of us. And that's where it really is very deep inside all of us, that when this happens, it didn't just happen to them, it happened to all of us. They are part of our people, and this is a communal grief. This is a communal tragedy. And we are going to mourn together, and we are going to try and honor their memory as much as possible. And even if you're not connected to your Judaism, like I love what Jody said, just take on one thing. Tomorrow night is the Sabbath. Maybe you and your friend decide to light candles just one time. Maybe that'll be a sense of healing. Maybe for you, you like to lean into prayer. Maybe some people don't like to lean into prayer. Maybe you would rather give some kind of tzedakah, some kind of charity to an organization. All of these things are going to be about having rituals, having community, and having a place to put your grief. Okay, so how about everybody just give one last ending part, and then we really just hope that this will stay live on our Instagrams, and we hope that our ability to get together will just serve as some kind of comfort, and knowing that you're not alone, knowing you could reach out to both of our organizations. And if they really want us to do some longer programming, deep programming, all you have to do is write into the Trauma Informed LA website, write into the Kesher Shalom website, join both of our newsletters. We hope that you become a part of our community. We hope you listen to the amazing podcast that Susie and Miri do. And we're here, and we're not gonna be silent, and we're gonna be here as a support. So Judy,
Ooh, there's a couple
oh great.
questions.
How did I not see that? Where are the
So
questions?
Monica, Mark's art, maybe how do we respond to those who deny? And then Jean asked one too, but we can start with Monica.
How to respond to those who deny? I will start by educating and by acknowledging the pain and trying to, well, let me back up for a second. It depends if the person who deny wants to have a dialogue, because I think sometimes people wants to say what they have to say. They ask a question, don't really want an answer, and they're just want to hear themselves talk. Don't talk to those people. There's no point. But if someone is actually trying to engage in conversation and denial comes out of a place of ignorance, I think it's a great opportunity to share and to go back to the primary emotions and to be vulnerable and curious. I might say to someone who doesn't get it, I'm really hurt right now. This is really painful for me. And let me tell you why. And maybe connected to something that they felt in the past. I think back to the idea of ally, bringing back people that are not Jewish to stand with you and for you. It's not enough to just stand next to me. I need sometimes people to speak up for me when I don't have the words. Find those people. They can't be just bystanders. They need to be outstanding there with you as well. And safety. If there's no safety, then don't talk. I think that one of the problems right now is that we need to ask ourselves, am I physically safe and am I psychologically safe? And then make a decision whether or not to engage or not to engage. And if you're not physically safe, get the hell out of the place. Don't engage. And if it's psychological safety, ask yourself, am I ready to do it today? Maybe today's not the day. Maybe if I'm too emotional mind, I'm going to do it tomorrow.
Love that.
Were we able to answer your question? I don't know who asked the question, but just put it in the chat if you feel like you were satisfied with there.
It was Monica.
And I see Dana Cohn is here,
Hi.
another fit. Hi, Monica. Monica, do you want to talk? How did you feel with Miri's answer? Do you feel satisfied? I thought it was a good answer.
Yeah, she hearted it, which I love so much. Because Miri, what you were saying, I felt starting on October 8th, it was all about defending, defending, defending. And now I'm trying to lean in more to curiosity, if I'm safe, of course. And so I have gone back to some relationships, by the way, that I was like, I'm done. And I just sort of like, I was in my amygdala.
Yeah.
Now I have responded saying, I'm actually really curious. The reason you said you would support me behind closed doors only.
Mm-hmm.
And then he responded and said, because I don't know how to respond. And I know how to support him of how to respond, because I think people think you have to know everything, but you don't. I don't know everything. So I really appreciate having a year to regulate my nervous system so that I can lean into being curious, where before I was in my fight response and there was no way I was going to engage. If you weren't going to support me, I was done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a year later, I'm going back to relationships to actually be curious and have a conversation. And as Miri said, it's about a conversation and being curious and engaging. If they do not want a conversation, then it's not going to be possible.
No, you can't actually engage with somebody who, and actually that also, I feel like what's amazing, as Jody and I have been doing this, a lot of the wisdom that we know as therapists are really in our Jewish text. We have a concept of tochacha, like you can't rebuke somebody or tell somebody something if they're not ready to hear it. And I don't know if Miri or Susie's aware, but I did come up with a protocol called the Bridge Protocol on how to talk to somebody on the other side. And the beginning is boundaries, right? Like we have to decide, is this a safe place? Is this the right boundaries? Is this the right person to engage with? And without going through the whole Bridge Protocol, this is the hardest part, is we want to always engage with empathy and compassion and lead with curiosity. Because the idea is not just to get into a debate and win and beat them and break them down. The idea is to really help everyone develop their critical thinking, engage in relationships, engage in trying to get people to understand both point of views and have a useful dialogue. And if you follow the steps of the bridge, it will break down the cognitive dissonance, but it will do it in a way that maintains the other person's self-dignity. A lot of times I see people arguing with the other side and they're not being able to preserve the dignity. And when you preserve their dignity, you're also maintaining your own sense of integrity. Do we have time for 2 more questions? Is there anybody else who has any questions? Do we know the main motivator of the shooter?
Anti-Semitic. From the left side this time. See, this is the beauty of terror. What all terrorist groups have in common, that's one of the things I've learned from my work at Parents for Peace. For those of you who don't know, Parents for Peace is a group that's been here for a while, over 10 years now, and we fight radicalization. The data shows that it's a Venn diagram from the left to the right. Every single terror group, what they all have in common, lucky for us Jews, is anti-Semitism. And I think people miss that and think it's just the right. No, it's also the left. And unfortunately, for those of you who were not aware, this has been going on for years now. We're talking about over 30 years where, unfortunately, the social peace under social justice have been grooming anti-Semitic. Not all of them, obviously, but there's definitely a lot of anti-Semitism going on, which is what we see on college campuses today. I think what we saw today is the result of normalizing hate and normalizing speech like globalize the intifada. For those of you who don't know what's intifada, this is like suicide bombing and murders. And this is what we're seeing right now, is when we don't have a strong response. When people are saying, it's just free speech, it's not a big deal. Well, this is the result. The murder that happened yesterday. And unfortunately, it's going to happen again and again until someone is going to do something about it. So my call for action for everybody who's listening, especially our non-Jewish allies, wake up, get up, and do something about it. You need to condemn what's happening. You need to say this is not okay, because it's not okay for anyone, any community. And the thing is that for us Jews, we would stand for you because we did that in the past. Jews have been standing with any type, any minority, any marginalized group throughout the years. This is your turn. Stand up with us and for us.
And also, what starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews.
100%.
Right. This
Yeah.
isn't just about the Jews. That they want to destroy what we know today as pure, democratic, free living. So I think that these points are really important, and it's really important to have the words to be able to say what you need to do. Right now, I know we're in a place of mourning and to honor the mourning and to honor their memories. And we're really grateful that we were able to do this today. Before we close, I wanted to I saw that Dana Cohn, who's another amazing therapist, is on. Dana, do you want to put on your mic? Do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, thank you for inviting me to this. I feel honored. So obviously like today is just so much to hold and just like making sure that everybody takes care of themselves like before they kind of like go into the fight and but not in regards to like actual fighting, but like yeah, showing empathy, listening, hearing, making sure that you do take care of yourself. I mean, this isn't political. This is anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is Jew hatred, and it's so important that like people do see this and not just look at it like, oh, this just like it shouldn't be any other like Wednesday or Thursday. Like this is not okay that it's happening, and um it is just important that people do take care of themselves though before they kind of like want to help others. So for everybody listening, yeah, just like make sure that like where your nervous system is at before you are helping others.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but
No,
I know how awesome you are, and I wanted to
I
give
was
you a
gonna
shout out.
t-shirt, but it's totally fine.
And Jews in schools, do you have anything you want to say? I'm curious about Jews in schools too, but I've seen you on Instagram. Miri or Susie, do you have any closing remarks?
I think my final thoughts are just to remember that we heal in community, not in isolation. And just holding that mantra has been so helpful for me because it's so easy to go into isolation during these times, during traumatic invalidation, as Mary so eloquently speaks and writes about. So it's about community.
It's 100% about community, and we need to keep creating more community. That's why we wanted to put this space together. And I was really excited when Miri answered back immediately to my message, because I was hoping, we're also going to be joining as a community. And I was really happy that, we can do this. And please, as I said, stay in touch with all of us because we have a lot of events coming up. And if you have services or groups, we're open to hearing what you want, and we'll put programs together as need be.
One more. I also feel like if there are any, I don't know if there are any like non-Jews watching, but as allies, like making sure that if you don't know what to say, it's okay to say I don't know what to say, but I'm here for you.
Yes.
Just being there, just
Yeah.
holding space for somebody, just being there.
Yeah.
But we can't stay silent in the face of hate. Okay. Silence is compliance. We cannot stay silent anymore. And this is one of the most important messages that we have to put out there. I want to thank everybody for being here today, and I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for coming to our live.
Thank you, Malka.
Thank you, Monica.